moving.
You kidding me? Look at him. I ain't making the first move.
Whoa, yeah!
Brother, it hurts, brother. Make it stop. Make it stop, brother.
Hey, it's your pal Palomation, and we are back to talk about Mario's time on the Super Nintendo. Or SNES, if that's too many syllables for you. The SNES is where Mario really started expanding his horizons. Unlike the NES, which saw 4 mainline Mario games, the SNES only had 1, with Mario being a little more, we'll say experimental. Which really worked out for some games, but not so well for others. And I know you could argue Yoshi's Island is technically a mainline Mario, as it's called Super Mario World 2, but I view it as the launching point for Yoshi's solo career, so if I ever do a Yoshi retrospective, you'll see it there. As stated in my previous videos, I'm sticking to the mainline Mario games and the RPG spin-offs. But for the sake of my nostalgia, I threw in an extra for fun. So as the mustachioed man himself would say, let's go!
Have faith.
Gotta have faith, faith, faith. Gotta have faith. You son of a bitch.
I hope you're truly impressed.
By the sheer amount of luck you had. Super Mario World was created once again by the legendary duo of Takashi Tezuka and Shigeru Miyamoto. Tezuka was the director of the project, while Miyamoto had the role of producer, though the team admitted Miyamoto held the higher authority. Super Mario World was the first Mario game created for the Super Nintendo, as well as being a launch title for the system alongside F-Zero. This presented a challenge for the dev team, as they had to work with new and advanced hardware while using software tools that weren't fully developed. This advanced hardware was an overall positive though, as the team had more freedom than ever with certain mechanics. For example, they could now go from 18-bit to 16-bit, and allow for far more colors to appear on screen. Perhaps the greatest plus to come from this new hardware was the addition of Yoshi. Super Mario World was Yoshi's debut game, but did you know he was initially planned to appear much earlier? Miyamoto wanted Mario to have a rideable PAL back in the first Super Mario Bros., but the developers couldn't get it to work due to the NES's limitations. Yoshi can be traced back even further, however, as he shared several similarities to a green dragon designed by Miyamoto for the 1984 game Devil World. Tezuka believes Miyamoto's love for horse riding served as the main inspiration for Yoshi. He even had a sketch of Mario riding a horse that he kept on his desk. One last fun fact before we head into the gameplay: despite claiming he feels the game was rushed and incomplete, Miyamoto cites Super Mario World as his favorite Mario title. If it ain't broke, don't fix it is a phrase Nintendo is all too familiar with. Unless we're talking about Paper Mario. Mario runs and jumps like always, but his movements feel better than ever, and honestly feel damn near perfect. His base abilities from Super Mario Bros. 3 all return, such as being able to grab objects and perform a running jump. He gains a new ability, however, known as the spin jump. The spin jump can be used to break blocks beneath you, bounce off certain hazards, and instantly defeat most stompable enemies. While Super Mario Bros. 3 introduced a whole new slew of power-ups, World decided to take it back a notch by keeping only the Super Mushroom, the Fire Flower, and the Star. It did introduce one new power-up though, and it's one of my all-time favorites, the Cape Feather. As its name suggests, the Cape Feather grants Mario a cape, which he can use to build up speed and fly, similar to the Raccoon Leaf. However, this time flight can be endless if performed correctly. The cape can also be used as a spin to defeat enemies and reflect projectiles. While flying, Mario can even perform an earth-shaking dive bomb attack. While I'm not really sure whether to label this a power-up or what, Mario World's greatest gameplay addition has to be Yoshi. Yoshi can swallow enemies, hold objects in his mouth, and step on hazards that prove fatal to Mario. Yoshi can gain different abilities based on the shells he eats. A red shell allows him to spit out a wave of fireballs, a yellow shell allows him to land with a mini earthquake, and a blue shell grants him flight. Green shells don't do poop, unless you're using a different colored Yoshi. Uniquely colored Yoshis can use green shells to perform the abilities of shells that correspond with their color. So a blue Yoshi can use a green shell like a blue shell, and so on. If hit one on Yoshi, Mario will fall off, and you'll have to hurry and jump back on Yoshi to regain control. Yoshi can also be used to get an extra jump when needed, though it's one of the biggest dick moves in all gaming, as it usually results in Yoshi's death. The world map returns in Mario World, but this time it's all one map that just zooms in on wherever you are. This world map is charged and chock full of secrets, as most levels have secret exits that grant you access to alternate routes. This game is kind enough to tell you if a level has multiple paths by giving these levels a red icon and single exit levels a yellow one. Perhaps the greatest secret route is found in the Donut Ghost House, which leads you to the top secret area, where you can get unlimited power-ups, Yoshis, and extra lives. When playing 2-player, entering the stage won't use up your turn, so go crazy. I will admit I do miss the mini-games and Toad Houses from Super Mario Bros. 3 though. Make your way to the star icons on the map and you'll discover Star World. This world is where you can find the alternate colored Yoshis, and finding the secret exit in each level can allow you to warp across the map. You can use this to skip certain areas, even nearly the whole game, as well as just get around faster. Which is nice, as Mario moves painfully slow on the map. Getting to the star in the center will warp you to the special zone. Here you'll find a gauntlet of wacky levels with the greatest names the 90s could muster. Beat all of these and the island season will change to fall. Several of the enemies scattered about will change to different variants as well. I find this to be one of the best completion rewards in all of Mario, as the changes provide some fun incentive to re-explore each level. Normally this is the part where I complain about extra lives, but it's honestly not that bad here. Get a game over and you'll be sent back to the last castle you beat, which honestly isn't bad at all. You just have to walk a little bit. Now my only real complaint with this game is all the super cute Japan-only toys that release with it. I mean, look at these things. Now if only I could justify spending that amount of money on them. I tried to convince my fiance to let me put them on our wedding registry, but apparently a toy boat driven by Mario and his friends doesn't benefit us both. Whatever. All in all, this game rivals Super Mario Bros. 3 for what could be considered Mario's best 2D outing. I do miss the large variety of power-ups from Super Mario Bros. 3, but besides that, there's really not much to complain about here. The levels are fun and diverse, the gameplay is as tight as ever, and there's secrets in every nook and cranny. And running around as Cape Mario while riding Yoshi is the most powerful 5-year-old me has ever felt. And I highly recommend playing the Mario All-Stars version of this game so you can get the sweet new Luigi sprite. This game was one of the greatest of my early childhood, and I still enjoy it just as much today. Now, I wish I could say the same for this next title. Should I tell her about Julius Caesar? Oh, what's that guy doing over there? He's really stroking that thing. Oh. Ooh, that's pretty hot. I better get going. So remember how earlier in this video I talked about how Mario went through a bit of an experimental phase on the Super Nintendo? With each Mario title being a massive success, Nintendo figured it time to let Mario branch into new areas, such as go-karting, painting, and playing doctor. No, not like that. I mean, he became an actual doctor. He's a plumber, construction worker, doctor, carpenter. He's basically the Johnny Sins of video games. Due to Mario's immense popularity, Nintendo began licensing him out to other companies, which resulted in getting a long-running Mario cartoon, a live-action movie, and a whole slew of educational games. The cartoon show ended up pretty great, and the movie was pretty bad, but possessed enough charm to grow a cult following, me included. The educational games, however, yeah, those were just plain bad. Though Mario's Missing gets a slight pass, as it marked Luigi's first solo outing. For this video, we're just going to focus on Mario's Time Machine, as it was a childhood favorite of mine, even though I had no idea how to play it. Mario's Time Machine was developed by the Software Toolworks in 1993 for the Super Nintendo and MS-DOS, an operating system for personal computers. Toolworks also went on to publish an NES version of the game in 1994 that was developed by Radical Entertainment. These three versions had several differences, but I'm just going to talk about the Super Nintendo version from here on out. I mean, this is a video about Super Nintendo Mario. So the game's story goes like this. Bowser uses the time machine to travel back in time and steal important artifacts throughout history in order to revert things back to the Dark Ages. Why Bowser wants this or taunts Mario, who may have not even known about it otherwise, is beyond me. Anyway, it's up to Mario to use the time machine to return the artifacts and ensure that history runs its correct course. Unfortunately, every important person in history is incredibly stuck up, and will only listen to Mario if he's up to date on their legacy. So you must talk to each person in town to learn valuable information that Mario can record in his history book. People will only repeat their last line of dialogue though, so pay close attention. It's easy to miss important details, so I feel sorry for people back in the day who couldn't just Google whatever info they missed. Though honestly, it's pretty easy to just fill in the word blanks by process of elimination. Careful though, as 3 strikes send you back to Bowser's castle. Once all the words are filled in, you can return the artifact and get a move on to your next destination. And you basically just rinse and repeat this for the rest of the game. The game has multiple endings depending on how fast you beat it or whether you return the artifacts in the right order. Not beating the game fast enough will allow Bowser to escape to Paradise. Doing things out of order will just strand Bowser in the Cretaceous period, which honestly, sounds like a win. And doing everything right will do the same thing as the second, but Bowser will get stomped by a dinosaur this time. You of course have no way of knowing these things until you beat the game. Did I mention this game was meant for little kids? So is this fun to do? No! No, it's not. There's no real gameplay here. It's just walk around, talk to people, and memorize stuff. There's no platforming, enemies, bosses, anything. It's just a poorly written history book with Mario's face pasted on it to lure in unsuspecting children. The worst part is the target audience will likely never even get to the first level, as in order to get to each time period, you must check the date and location in your book, enter it correctly into the time machine, surf around and grab 10 mushrooms, then dive into a whirlpool. This is a lot to ask a toddler to do. I think the only reason I loved this game so much as a kid is I just liked surfing around as Mario. And I'll give the game some credit, the surfing music is a real banger. To wrap this game up, let's talk about how this educational game is actually full of historical inaccuracies. There's way too many to list them all, but here's a few for example. Julius Caesar boasts he conquered Pompeii despite it actually being captured before he was ever in power. Aristotle was portrayed as an old man despite the fact that he's only 15 at the time and wasn't even a student of Plato's for another couple years. And the staff Mario returns to Cleopatra is cited as being passed down from her ancestors, though no such item existed in real life. If you want a full list, you can go check it out on the Super Mario Wiki. Seriously, there's a lot.
Artichoker!
Ooh, that's a good name. Makes me want to become like a vegetarian wrestler. Ah, it's the artichoker! And then I'll remind kids to eat their vegetables at the end of every fight.
Is an art. Oh. Staticky. Loser.
Wait, is artichoke a vegetable or a fish?
A fish?
Why am
it's
I
definitely
thinking...
not a fish.
Why am I thinking of the vegetable?
You mean a fruit? I don't think it's a fruit.
No, it's a fish, like you said. I don't know.
Fish. It's not a fish.
I thought you just said it was.
Oh my god. You.
Okay, it's artichoke.
You
So
just
it's not
said...
a vegetable, it's a fruit.
No, I think it's a vegetable.
Yeah, okay, I was right.
No, you questioned, you're like, is an artichoke a vegetable or a fish? And then I was like, a fish?
Oh, I thought you were saying, like, a
You're the
fish.
one
Like,
that
are
said
you
fish.
dumb? Of course
No.
it's a fish.
No.
You know how you usually talk to me.
No.
Okay, I'm glad I'm not as... I made
You're gonna
myself...
listen to this later and be like, I totally said fish.
No, see, I knew it was a vegetable.
Yeah.
But it was like...
Well, you said it as a question.
I made myself sound stupid when I was actually smart.
Oh, is that so?
100%.
I think you're just embarrassed because you thought it was a fish.
No, I knew it was a vegetable, but for some reason part of me was like, artichoke's a fish. And then the guy inside the thing looked like a fish, and I was like, well, I was pretty sure it's a vegetable, but maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe it's a fish.
It's a vegetable, I know it is now. The world was blessed with Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars through the combined efforts of Nintendo and Square Enix, known simply as Square at the time. Square mastered the RPG formula, but was struggling to sell games outside of Japan. To remedy this, Square knew they needed a character Westerners could feel attached to. They quickly realized that Mario was the perfect choice, and Mario's creator, Miyamoto, wanted him to star in an RPG as well. So the two companies sat down and reached an agreement. Square would develop the game with Miyamoto leading teams at both companies. Square's initial pitch for the game included a sketch of Mario riding horseback with a cape and sword in hand, to which Miyamoto simply responded, "That's not right," and suggested that Mario use a hammer instead. When deciding on the combat, the dev team showed two demos to a crowd, one of Mario using swords and magic, and the other using hammers and jumps. The crowd reaction ultimately decided on the latter being used. Mario RPG was initially designed to be 2D, but switched to a 3D isometric view sometime during development. The team used pre-rendered 3D models for several aspects of the game, such as characters and objects, and rendered them in a resolution that the Super Nintendo could support, similar to how Donkey Kong Country achieved its 3D look. The game was originally only released in Japan and North America, not reaching areas such as Europe and Australia until the game's release on the Wii Virtual Console. Gameplay-wise, the game combines Mario's platforming with Final Fantasy's combat system. The platforming admittedly isn't the best, as what was feared during Super Mario Bros. 3's development proved true. Platforming and isometric views don't mix well. Luckily, the game doesn't rely too heavily on this, and even when you do have to make some tricky jumps, you don't get penalized too harshly for failing. The combat system, on the other hand, is done very well. You fight using a turn-based combat system and utilize a new mechanic called action commands. Action commands are timed button presses that can be used to block, deliver an extra blow, and enhance special attacks. You can even increase the amount of HP restored when using some healing spells. though the right time to do the button press can be a bit tricky as it's not very consistent. Like your typical RPGs, you can equip each character with different weapons, armors, and accessories to increase their stats or provide certain effects. Give Peach, Toadstool, the Lazy Shell armor, and she'll become a near unkillable tank that makes losing damn near impossible. But she won't be able to do much damage, but considering her attacks are slapping and frying pan, it's not like they took her too seriously as a fighter anyway. Since we're on the topic of combat, let's talk about the playable characters. In the overworld, you control Mario at all times, and he cannot be removed from your active party. As always, Mario serves as an all-around character with decent defense, attack, and special. Bowser is a defense and attack tank, but doesn't rely on special attacks often. Princess Toadstool is pretty much just used for healing. Then we come to our two new original characters, Mallow and Geno. The frog boy, who looks suspiciously like a cloud, Mallow, starts off as your healer and magic user, but quickly becomes irrelevant once Peach is obtained. Which is honestly one of my few issues with the game, as I believe each character in an RPG should stay viable throughout. Plus, my fiancé loved him and refused to let him go, no matter how hard it made things for us. So Mallow really just got the short end of the froggy stick here. Then we have the star-possessed wooden doll, Geno, who can deliver some powerful special attacks. I'm talking Geno Whirl all day, baby. And for some reason, he's super requested in Smash Bros, despite being in a single game from over 20 years ago. Now, I ain't hating on Geno, I love the character, I just have no idea why or how this happened. Want my honest take? I think he'd work best as a deluxe Mii costume, sorta like Cuphead and Sans. Blast me in the comments if you must, but it's the truth. The plethora of original characters and environments in this game are also bright and expertly crafted, making the Mario world feel more vibrant and alive than ever. Each character is oozing with personality, and it's great to get a more in-depth look into pre-established characters like Bowser and Peach, Toadstool. Bowser especially though, as his enormous ego and inner dialogues provide some quality laughs, creating the Bowser persona for future RPG Mario games to adopt. The game set the stage for, its sequels? Spiritual successors? We'll say spiritual sequels to follow. Without it, the Paper Mario and Mario Luigi series would likely never exist. Oh, and it's one of the first Mario games to include an actual fleshed out plot that isn't just told to you in a manual. Story is pretty important for RPGs after all. Now before I can finish talking about this game, I have to discuss its most praised element, the secrets. This game is stuffed to the brim with secrets and cameos. Seriously, this video would triple in length if I went over them all. So I'm just going to talk about a select few I found interesting, and if I missed some you love, feel free to comment them below. For cameos, we can find Link and Samus sleeping in Rose Town and the Mushroom Kingdom respectively, as well as some F-Zero and Star Fox spacecrafts in Barrel Volcano. There's a secret casino you can gain access to by winning Knife Guy's game 12 times in a row. Then you can find the casino by accessing this pipe in Bean Valley. Once in, you can play slots, blackjacks, or look the other way for various prizes. Perhaps the greatest secret in this game is the Cool-X battle. You can buy fireworks in Mobile, which can then be traded for a shiny stone that unlocks a sealed door in Monstro Town. This Final Fantasy-inspired demon is the toughest fight in the game, and plays some stellar music from Final Fantasy IV, even using the game's victory fanfare once Cool-X is down. If you want to completely cheese this fight like I did, go to Seaside Town and keep giving the Mushroom Boy mushrooms until you have a hefty amount of rock candies. Then just spam Cool-X with them and watch him and his crystals crumble away from the excess cavities. Use a Power Blast to give the candies an extra 100 damage if you're feeling real sinister like I was. Alright, one more secret, then I gotta wrap this video up. And this is probably one of the hardest tasks I've seen in any video game ever. In Monstro Town, you'll find Freddy Fazbear Reject, who will offer you rewards for doing 30 super or ultra jumps in a row, and a separate reward for doing 100 of them. Sounds simple enough, right? Wrong! The first 13 or so jumps are pretty doable, but each jump after requires near frame-perfect execution. You must enter a state of complete brainlessness, and even the slightest thought will ruin everything. By shutting off my brain, the best I managed was 35 to get the attack scarf accessory. Unfortunately, my brain would always turn back on and make me second guess my timing, so I never quite received the coveted Super Suit, Mario's best armor in the game. If you accomplish this task, I envy your free time and you are a true legend of gaming. Okay, one last thing. Figured I'd throw this in since it always confused me. The game had several translation errors. One of the main ones I noticed as a kid was how when fighting Exor, I found it weird that his parts were labeled Left Eye, Right Eye, and Neo Squid. I spent years wondering why the heck his mouth was called Neo Squid, until I learned it was supposed to say mouth, but somehow got translated to that instead. No idea how in the world this happened. Honestly, I could talk about these games forever. Well, two of them anyway. These Mario titles were the biggest games in the world when I was a kid, and I can see why. Super Mario World and Mario RPG both played crucial roles in shaping Mario's very bright future, with Mario World proving Mario is a generation-hopping juggernaut, and Mario RPG showing the colorful cast of characters can be so much more and shine in all genres. If you'd like to hear me talk a little bit more about the music of Mario RPG, or watch my fiance and I just play through the game, please consider checking out my videos in the end card. Also, it'd mean the world to me if you could like this video and hit that subscribe button. I make these videos with what little free time I have, but I hope to work on these full time someday, so all support is greatly appreciated. I'll be back soon to discuss Mario's Game Boy and Game Boy Advance years. So until then, it's been real, it's been fun, it's been real fun. Have a good one.